Hello, welcome back to my shop. Today we have a review. Last year, or a little while before that, well, a little over a year ago, I did a review on this right here, this little must tool microscope. And at the time I said it was not a bad little device. And it isn't. It's pretty good. It does a pretty fair job, and I'll put a link down underneath here for that video if you want to go see it. And I was happy with it. It did pretty fair, and so, you know, on the video that's what I said. And I believe that this was in the $50–$60 range, somewhere around there. And a couple of weeks ago, well, yeah, a couple of weeks ago now, I got a email, or not an email, but a notification through this channel from a company called Andonstar, and they said they had something that would do better for me on my videos, and would I review it? And I said, well, okay, I'll review it, but I'll be honest on my review. And they said okay, and send it to me anyway. And this is what I got right here. This is a Andonstar AD207 little 7-inch, as you can see, much bigger microscope for doing board inspections and soldering and that kind of stuff. And it got here like within a week. I was amazed. And this is going to be my review on it. Now, this is not the same animal as that little must tool. This one is a little bit different, and we'll get into it. First thing, it comes with this base, nice heavy-duty solid base with a good mechanism for, you know, raising and lowering it. It's good and solid, and it's, you know, it's what most of them are. Plus, it comes with these little lights, 2 of them on the sides, which I didn't really think about them much. I thought, well, you know, that's nice, but I wonder how much help they're going to be, and also what kind of glare they're going to put on stuff. But I said, okay, well, that's nice, and then I, you know, said, well, let's put it together, and I did, and here it is. Now, this tool, this microscope, is made specifically for doing inspections and soldering and stuff. So, right off the bat, and they say this in their advertisement on Amazon and on the eBay and the other ones, that you can't hook this to a computer. It's not made for that. It's made to be used as a standalone device. So as a result, it is. So let's take a look at what, you know, the thing itself and what it's like here. Okay. First of all, you've got, like I said, this stand that comes with it, which you have to power through the USB cable that comes with it. Now, this is not something I actually like, but I understand why it's here. You've got this cable here with this little controller on the end of it, And the cable has, there's a lot of cable, is one thing. It's kind of weird. It's excuse me, trying to fight off the cold everybody else has. We've got this little controller with 3 wires coming out of it. One of the wires here, which is one of those little mini barrel connectors, goes to the back right here of the base, and this wire drives the inspection LEDs on the side, so that plugs into there. And the other piece of the wire, which is a little micro USB, it plugs into the top. If I can get the light right here. Can we see that? Yeah. It plugs into the top right here with a 90-degree connector. It just barely fits, but it does fit. You can't put this thing in upside down, that's for sure. So it plugs into there. And then the other end of it, the cable, the long part, goes to a standard A-type USB, which plugs into the little supplied USB power brick, which on the side of it, the USB power brick says AC adapter. Let's see if we can get this close enough to the camera. It's hard to read these things. It says AC adapter, model number, it's 100 to 240 volts, 50 to 60 hertz at 0.35 amps input, and the output is 5 volts at 2 amps. 2 amps. So it's UL listed. It says on the side here, I mean CUS UL listed, and it says dispose of properly, made in China. Alright, I haven't actually tested it. I figured it's theirs. They sent it to me, so it goes with their microscope. So it probably is okay. Now, if we look at the clamping mechanism for this, the base of the whole assembly goes into the base here, and it's got little plastic pads when it screws down onto it. They aren't just little metal doohickeys that bite into the side of it, so they clamp into it. And if we look at the actual back of this, you'll see here that there's a ring that goes down inside this ring so that your little clamps are clamped onto that ring, which makes this a little different than the other ones in the fact that this one actually will rotate even when you are clamped down, but it's there firm enough that it stays. It also will do almost 180 degrees, almost, for moving the screen around to wherever you need to get to it. Also on the top we have a place for an SD card, and since this does not hook up to a computer, you have to have an SD card in it. And a spot over here for something else. I don't know what that's for. That's about all there is. Well, it does come with a UV filter, which actually does help. I was surprised. But it's a nice little screw-on UV filter, which is also a nice little lens protector for the little bitty lens down there in the center, if you can see it. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It has 8 little cob LEDs in the bottom for its main lighting. So light is really not a problem with this. It's got plenty of light. So, and all of your focusing is done with this big giant ring, which has a pretty good feel to it. It's nice and smooth. It doesn't have any, there's no lumpy backlash to it. It's nice and smooth. One thing you want to make sure when you put this in, I didn't do it, and as you can tell, because the instructions are, you know, basic Chinese instructions. Put it in all the way, because if you don't, you'll scratch this part of it right here. So when you put it in, man, when you put it in, excuse me, yeah, let's get some, see if I can get some light over here, there. When you put the thing in, you actually go down onto this ring itself, so that the ring is, the one that turns is actually in there. Straighten out so that you're 90 degrees, so that your picture isn't all screwed up, and then tighten down these little side guys, and now you're ready. You're set up like it should be, with the right direction, and when you turn it on, it'll be oriented correctly. And you can turn like this to get it to the direction that you want it, depending on what you're putting under here. Now, it also came with this little pack of stuff here. Well, it comes with a little screw to put it together with, but it comes with 2 of these right here. And these are supposed to go over here, screw down. Let's see if I can make sure I can get that in a picture. They screw down to the holes in the back here, and what they do is they're supposed to be little clamps like you have on a regular microscope to hold a slide. I put those on there originally, and I thought, well, that's okay, that's pretty good, but they get in the way, as we'll see in a minute, and I took them off. They might be good for some things, but they're not good for normal stuff. So anyway, there is the device itself. So let's plug this in, and when you plug it in, it comes on. The lights come on down here, see, which you are flexible, and you can put them anywhere you want to. Gives you a little welcome screen, and then goes right to there. Now, if we take a look at the top of what's on this screen, can I zoom in that far to get it? Will it let me? Maybe. Yeah. Alright, on the top of the screen we've got a few things. First of all, if we look over here, it says standby. A little microphone with an arrow with a line through it. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're at FHD, full HD at 30 frames a second. We are in video mode, and I don't really know what that is, and it doesn't explain it, and it says it's powered, which it is. Down on the bottom, we just plugged it in, and it says 2018-0101, and the time since we plugged it in this case, 1 minute and 7 seconds. And the other thing is, it comes with a little screen protector, and you probably can't see this. Maybe you can. Right here, see the screen protector? It doesn't actually fit. It fits, but you can't. It's exactly the same size, or just maybe a quarter of a hair off of the size. I sure wish I could get my face out of that thing, but I can't. Okay, we'll turn it that way. You don't want to look at me. Anyhow, and I think probably the best bet is to get rid of that. But we'll leave that on for right now. So anyway, there's all the functions there on the front. Let's talk about this little guy up here. That is a microphone, the old style microphone with a line through it, and ignore it. It doesn't work. There's no microphone in this, and that's what that little hole on the top would have been for, unfortunately. Anyway, the other thing it comes with, and this is the outstanding part of this as far as I'm concerned, which I'll explain to you, is a remote control. Isn't that cool? Has a remote. The remote does everything that you need for this thing to do, and the remote sensor is right there, right above this. Oh, this dial here is to turn up and down the main light, if you can see it down there, right, hello, right there. there are times when you don't need and or want that light. Trust me. All right. So the remote here has a big red button on the top for taking a picture, and that's simply just for taking a picture. You push that and it takes a picture. Why do I think that's cool? Well, you take this little guy here, this little mouse tool, and if you want to take a picture, you have to hit the OK button, which is right here. Well, when you do that, the whole thing moves, and you cannot be good enough to push that without moving the whole thing. And if you've got a board on there, it's going to screw up your picture. So this is one thing that's really nice about this, is that button. Under that, it's got a menu button, and it's got a freeze button, which will freeze the picture, and it's got a mode button for going to, those are viewing modes, viewing back and forth. Plus, it's got the ubiquitous circle of many things here. The first, when it's in regular normal mode, the first button takes it up to ×2, and then ×4, and back down again to normal. The sideways buttons, going sideways, they are the EV. It's the what do they call that? Exposure, which you can adjust the exposure to whatever you want, minus and plus. It's got a 50 and 60 hertz button for wherever you happen to be. A dedicated button for that. That's interesting. It's got a plus button, which the plus button actually pulls up a set of things that you can do. One of them being to turn on and off the lines on the scope, and put them vertical or horizontal, and change their position and their color. So if you want to put lines around something, you can do that too. Then it's also got, turn those off, and then it's got just plain cross lines where you can put a target in there. Turn that on and off. Get out of that. Whoops. It does have a bit of a delay. Alright. Then down at the bottom on the keypad on this part of it, it's got this little button, which is for sharpness, minus, and sharpness plus. This button locks, this one locks the picture when you're in viewing mode. Then it's also got contrast plus, contrast minus, and it international, or NTL and PAL. I don't know what NTL is, but I know what PAL is. For when you're recording, it records it in those different. I don't know what NTL means, but it must be ours because it works there. Then it's also got this button, which I'll show you that in a little bit, and it's got this little center button which turns it to black and white or color right there, and a default set button. If you get yourself screwed up, you can push the default set button. And then it's got, down on the bottom, it's got probably the second most useful button on here. Let's say that we're looking at something. We'll take a look at this right here. Bring it into focus. Give it a little light so you can see it. See, it's really neat. When you're looking at ICs, and especially on this really cheap stuff, and the ICs are just barely marked, you can bring these lights over and shine them down over on top and sideways to get the absolute best picture you can, and find out what that IC is that's marked horribly. So let's say here we got, we're looking at this AMD processor. It's a, what is this thing? 186 ES, I don't know what it is. Anyway, it's an AMD. But let's say that you didn't have that ability. You had to look at it like this, and you want to take a picture of it. Well, this little button right here turns it over. It rotates the image for you automatically, so that's cool. I like that. Between these two buttons, those are probably the most used ones you're going to get. All right, so there's the remote. And like I said, this little wire that comes on here, it has an on-off and the light for these guys. They'll go up and down a little bit. You really can't see it too well in the camera because the camera's adjusting, but it does increase and decrease the light a little bit. So there is how the thing works and what it looks like and the basics, except for we got to go into the menu. Let's kind of zoom in on this a little bit so we can do the menu part. There. Alright, so in the menu you've got video resolution, where it tells you right now I'm on FHD, full HD, 30 frames a second, and you've got a choice of HD, 30 frames a second, which I don't know. One's 1080p and one's 720. I just leave it on full HD. Sound record on and off. Exposure, you can get to here and do the exposure if you want to. It'll let you serve it all the way up and down from, let's see, whoops, to, it's got a range of exposure, that's for sure. But when you got the lights, why bother? It's got white balance, auto white balance, or you can select daylight, cloudy, fluorescent, incandescent. So in here I've got basically, yeah, they're LEDs, so they don't have a choice for that, so we'll do on whatever it thinks is best, which is auto, which seems to work. You've got color, natural, vivid, and pale. This thing is trying to focus on me. Let's see if we can widen this out, take this away a little bit. Now it's going to focus. This is why I usually do top downs and not like this. Anyway, natural, vivid, and pale. Who cares? It's contrast, which you can do from the remote over here, right there on the remote. You can do that automatically by itself. Saturation for color, if you want to get crazy with your color. Sharpness, which you can do from here, and gamma. And gamma actually brings up the screen, so you can, for instance, if you're doing something like this and you want the gamma to brighten up the entire picture, gamma's kind of like bright with contrast included. It's useful in some ways, in other ways maybe not so much, but it's good to have. And then you hit menu to get back out. It's also got the date format you want for your date, and a watermark to watermark it with date and time if you want to. Your language, it's got, what has it got? English, English, Spanish, Portuguese, I believe that's Russian. I don't know, because they kind of look the same to me, but I think, I don't know. Dutch, Deutsch, Italian, French, and I think that bottom one might be Korean. I'm not sure, but that's anyway. We're going to leave it on English. Frequency 60 Hertz, which you can also select from here. Format the SD card and reset the setup completely if you totally screw the thing out. And firmware version, which in this one is D20. Right there, version 1.0. 2019-09-25. So this is a pretty, right now, I mean, it's up to date. Okay. So you do that twice and you go back. All right, so there we go. We've got that's the menu. So that's how it works. But let's actually do some looking around on this thing. One of the things I always hated, and I'm going to bring this up right now, one of the things I always hated with that other little must tool was when you went in for a close-up or, you know, magnification by the you know, software magnification, which is actually, it's digital. By the way, this thing is 1080p full HD, but it does compress down the JPEGs a little bit less than, or a little bit more than other ones do, so the file sizes aren't tremendous. I think it's around 80%. I can't prove that, don't quote me on that one, but anyway, it does. But anyway, on the other one, when you went and, you know, hit the button for, you know, for magnification, it magnified starting up here, up in this top corner, and that meant that every time you magnify, this thing would go this way, then this way, and you lost what you were doing. This one doesn't do that. Let's try to get this centered as much as we can. We'll hit the magnification up button ×2. There's ×2, and it's still right there in the center. And there's ×4. It's still right in the center. That's great. I don't have to chase things around the board. So let us see how good it really is. We'll take the magnification back down to normal and do a real good job of touching up our focus. Like I said, that focus ring is darn good. It feels good. It's nice and smooth, like a really good microscope. When I was in school, we had pretty fair microscopes, and I always liked the feel of the focus ring, and this is pretty close to it. It's not one of those sloppy ones. I've had several different kinds of these microscopes, from the little handheld guys to, you know, that must tool, to the little round tubes, you know, that you just hold in your hand or have the little springy holder. And this one is by far the best so far. But okay, we've got this, you know, brought into as good as we can get. So let's first of all, let's go from full extension, which gives you, how much distance is that from the base? From the base to there, you've got 100 centimeters, yeah, 10 centimeters. So it's right at 4 inches, 10 centimeters. That's pretty good. And on ×1, that's your field of view. Okay, and that field of view on ×1 at the very top is covering... Okay, hey, you know what? Turn over. Thank you. Is covering right at 2 centimeters, 20 millimeters. So the top view, as far out as it will go, is 20 millimeters, 2 centimeters. And when we take it down from there to ×2, that, I wonder if it's going to work out mathematically. We got 13 millimeters, and then ×4, we have that is one big, okay, ×4, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. We'll call it 7 just because that thing's there. 7 millimeters. So 7 that weird. 7 okay, 14 I guess. 7, 14, and 20. Well, no, that doesn't work out mathematically, but that's what you get at the very top of it. So let's take it down to, like, I want to really inspect something. clamp it down and see how far down it will go and still focus in. Not that far. All right. Right there is the absolute max, and I would call that about as good as it gets. Let's get on something that's useful. All right, so there. Yeah, that was like just a tiny twist. All right, so our minimum then is going to be 2 inches, approximately 2 inches, or 5 centimeters. So our minimum's 5 centimeters. So we went from the top down to 5 centimeters. I forget what I said now, but let's see how it does. Now when you're down here this far, this is kind of where your lights kind of come in handy, so that you can light things up from 2 different directions. Alright, so now we're down there. Now let's try times 2 and times 4. Can we get it any better than that? That's about as good as it goes. Now let's see how it works as far as tilting. At times 4, it's terrible. The depth of field, well, it's not one of them really expensive microscopes, of course, and it's not going to automatically focus on this area, but you can't tilt it at all. I mean, I'm not moving probably 3 millimeters tilt, not even a degree. So it's no good for looking sideways into stuff by tilting the board. However, and you can't, from here, you can't go down any farther, so you'd have to go up. Anyway, but that's how good it gets. On the highest magnification, as low as it will go. And that's your field of view on that is going to be very difficult to hold this still. 2, 3, almost 3 millimeters. So you're looking at a max magnification all the way down on times 4 of 3 millimeters. That's that's not bad, and the picture quality is darn good. You can see that from here. That's pretty good. All right, now let's turn this off and see if I can figure out what I did. I have my little SD card. So oh, by the way, this thing has a little temporary off. This has a little off button, but it's a very quick off. It's not you don't have to press it and hold it. Does this go in this way? Yeah, it goes in facing you, and it does lock. It's not just a smash in guy. We'll turn it back on. Comes on the same way. Alright, so now that we have the card in there, I think it's got a card. Is that what that thing up there says? But it still says no card. Can I take a picture? Yep, it took a picture. And you notice it doesn't do anything except for right up here in the corner. It goes from standby to cap to standby again. That's it. So that it knows it has a card because it won't work without it. It works as just a inspection and soldering guide without any card in it. So you can use it for that, but you can't record anything. There's no internal memory. And let's try taking a video. It says it's recording. Let's take the dirty old soldering iron and stick it under here. There we go. And by the way, this soldering tip is that. So, yeah, I can use that. That's pretty good. Let's back it out one. Come on. Can't do two things at once with my fingers. Okay, well, that is backed out. That's on 0, so that's right. When you turn it off, it goes back to standard again. All right. Now, I don't think that this is going to be of any use for soldering all the way in like this, but we'll find out. There is room. Yeah, maybe if I had a smaller tip on here. I've got some of these little tiny itty-bitty tips. That might work. But you wouldn't use it like that anyway if you're soldering. You would be probably up about here for most of your soldering. And that would be... Let's find that chip again. Hello, where'd you go? Hello, Chip, Chippy Chip. Where are you, Chip? Back it out so I can find where I'm at. It's like all of these things. You get lost. Oh, there it is. Okay. You'd probably be about there, maybe there, and there. These little, yeah, whoop, didn't see any of that anyway, but you'd be out about there. Alright, how much of that did I get? I don't know. Okay, well, I think I got most of that. Anyway, when you'll be soldering from here. You're not going to be down and way down, smashing down on the thing. So, let's take a look at something that we need to read. Here's a good example of one of these little transistors. Now these we can almost see, but if your light isn't right, you can't see it. The nice thing about this is you move the lights around just right, and looky there, you can see it. L44. That one is, I believe, a 1P. Yeah, 1P. Q3. Let's see, anything else on here that's interesting to see? Yeah, there ain't much. This is a, by the way, this is a APC slot controller for it's an SNMP management card for an APC battery backup unit. This one don't work. But it's got some chips on it and stuff, so I use it for that. Anyhow, so let's look at the bottom and look at some stuff. Okay, there is a resistor, 103, 110, what, 10K? That's pretty good. Another 10K. Wonder why they don't mark caps. 100. Okay. Another one. So these are, I think that's plenty good. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take a video of me sliding this thing around. It's been taking a video all this time, so I'll cut part of this out in pro production. And a little goes red down here and tells you how long you've been. That's nice. Anyway, so there we go. It's pretty good. Let's take this, put my light around the back like this, something I found out, and turn this as good as I can get it, and hold your tongue just right. There we go. And you can inspect the insides. See there? Right there. me trying to hold it still, you can inspect the feed-throughs through your through holes. So that's nice. That's doable. They do say something on this about 3D, and I'll be darned if I know what that is. But whatever. But it has enough field of view. It's got enough, definitely enough magnification, and it's got a nice big screen. So let's stop the recording, and we'll put it on the computer and see what we get from there. Well, that was just a little quick video directly from the card. Let's take a look at some pictures. This is the Mustool ×1 with the best lighting that it came with. Here is the AD207 with its lighting, and you can tell it's much better. The Mustool on ×2 with the basic lighting, and the AD207 on ×2. You can tell those two are pretty close to each other. Now let's take a look at ×4. This is the ×4 in the Mustool. It's not a whole lot more than the ×2. This is the same picture ×2 or ×4 on the AD207. Much better, much brighter, and a lot closer. So do I think it's worth its price? Well, what is its price? Its price is about $150, and quite frankly, yes, I do. It's a good tool for what it is, what it's supposed to do. The ability to hook it to a computer is not a big loss. I can tell you I don't think I ever have with that other little one, so it wouldn't make any difference. You just don't use them that way. You pull them out, you do what you want to do, and you put them away. You don't actually hook them up to the computer and try to do a video out of them. You save it to the card, and you edit it off of that. So, I give this thing a thumbs up. It's good. I like it. It's not overpriced. It's got a nice big screen. It's nice and clear. It's got lots of light that comes with it, and it does the zooming in on the center, which is great. I like that a lot. Anyhow, there you go. Thanks for watching, and give it a thumbs up if you like it, and don't forget to subscribe. You'll see more of these when I come out with them next time.